Okay, well today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're doing something out of this book. My neighbor across the street, Dave, goes to Napa all the time, and he brought me back this book. She owns Mustard's, which is a fantastic restaurant in Napa Valley. Okay, now the interesting thing about this book is that every recipe has 1,000 ingredients. I'm kidding, not 1,000, but I'm making a marinade for ribs, okay? And that marinade contains tamari, not just regular soy sauce, it's gotta be tamari, white pepper, hoisin sauce, a black bean garlic sauce, sesame oil, sherry vinegar and rice vinegar. It's supposed to be Tabasco, but I didn't have it, so I've got some Frank's Red Hot. It should be about the same. Garlic, ginger, cilantro, green onions, and all the way in the corner here, I've got my sugar. All of that, so I have to grate this ginger. All of that goes into this marinade, and then I'm gonna marinate those ribs, baby backs, for a couple of days, and then I'm gonna smoke them outside for, low and slow, 4 hours or so, and then grill them at the end. And it is fantastic. But, if I had to omit ingredients from this and make it still okay, I would say probably I don't need this, probably I don't need this, probably I don't need these, and I can get away with one vinegar. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to follow the recipe exactly and put everything in that she calls out. I've done this many, many times. It's awesome. It's a pain in the neck because there's 1,000 ingredients, but it's awesome. But again, are you going to taste the difference between two different vinegars in a marinade? Probably not, but I'm going to follow the recipe. All right, so I'm going to start crushing and grating and chopping and everything, and I'll show you how we progress, but I'm not going to bore you with the chopping and grating and crushing. Okay, so the other thing I didn't mention is that the recipe for the marinade is for 1 to 1.5 racks of ribs. So let's say it's for 1 rack of ribs. Well, I'm doing 3 racks, so I'm going to triple the recipe. So that means instead of 1.5 teaspoons of sugar, it's going to be 4.5 teaspoons of sugar. So you see how we're going to go off the rails on this, right? So that's 4.5 teaspoons of sugar, right? So it's going to end up being, 12 ounces of hoisin sauce, and everything's going to be multiplied by 3. So I'm going to get it all measured out. I'll show you what I'm doing. Okay, so the liquid stuff is easy, right? It requires 2.25 teaspoons of the sherry vinegar. Well, we know that 3 teaspoons is a tablespoon, so if I just do times 3 is 6 3/4, right? So I'll do 2 tablespoons of sherry vinegar, and you know what? Instead of trying to figure out 3/4, I'll just do a teaspoon. Okay, doesn't have to be exact. Okay, same thing with the tamari. 2.25, so that's going to be a tablespoon is 3, so that's 6 3/4, right, of the tamari, and the same thing goes with the rice vinegar. Okay, and that's 2.25, so that's 6 3/4. Okay, that's the easy part. Grating that ginger, the amount of ginger has to be grated, is time consuming, but we get it done. Now the hoisin sauce is easy also, because it's just going to be 12 ounces of hoisin sauce. And the rest of the measurements are pretty easy as well. So without further ado, I'm going to start grating ginger and chopping garlic and chopping cilantro and onions and everything else. But basically I'm tripling this bad boy. Okay, so like I said, the liquid ingredients are the easiest, right? I'm just doing the sesame oil now. It's going to be 1.5 teaspoons of that. And all of the measurements are going to be on the website, so don't worry about that. But you get the idea. Now I'm going to start grating ginger and chopping garlic and chopping cilantro and all that nonsense. But all the wet ingredients are done, and look at how much marinade there is. I mean, that's a substantial amount of marinade. But then again, I've got, 10 pounds of ribs. So, it's a lot. All right. Now, ginger is a pain in the ass. There, I said it. But this little device makes it a whole lot easier to deal with, right? Having this little device makes working with ginger a little bit easier. And I'm going to tell you how much I need, but you see what's happening here, right? Okay, so there's my ginger in the sauce. Here goes the garlic. And then I've got to chop cilantro and scallions. That should go pretty quick. Like I said, the biggest pain in the neck is the ginger because of the way you have to grate it. But using that little device makes it a whole lot easier. So yeah, you see there's a lot of garlic, a lot of ginger. It's an incredible marinade. Now, does that add flavor? Sure it does. But does it add as much flavor as the ginger and the garlic? Probably not. But again, I'm sticking to the recipe. So let me clean up and do the cilantro. Okay, in goes the cilantro. And, I didn't chop it into a powder. It doesn't have to be chopped into a powder, right? It just has to be chopped. And the cilantro, I have to say, every ingredient in here is adding to the complexity of this sauce. I think every ingredient is important. But like I said, if you can't get your hands on everything or you don't have everything handy and you still want to do it, there are a few things you could probably leave out and it's not going to make a whole lot of difference. All right, let's see what happens now when I stir it up. Okay, it smells wonderful. And this is going on 10 pounds of ribs. So next thing I need to do is go get a big old, I guess, 2.5 gallon Ziploc bag and then start marinating those ribs. All right. Okay, so I wasn't kidding when I said 10 pounds of ribs. That's a good price. I mean, $45 is expensive. And this, probably last year, the same amount of ribs would have cost me maybe $36. But still, 10 pounds of baby backs. So I'm going to cut these racks in half. So there's going to be 6 half racks. And they're going to fit inside of a bag like that. And then they're going to get marinated. And then on Easter Sunday, I'll be smoking these bad boys. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to take 1 half rack, right? Put it in the bag. And let's get some marinade on it. And then we're going to stack them so that the backs and the fronts get a fair amount of marinade. Okay? So, just like this, right? Put that on top. And let's get a little more aggressive, huh? Don't worry, there's going to be plenty of marinade. gonna go rinse my hands off. Okay, so here they are in the marinade and in a little container so that I can keep them in the fridge, and if the bag punctures, I don't have to worry. So what I'm gonna do is every few hours, I guess, I'm gonna just rotate them like this, right? And make sure that the marinade is evenly distributed. And that's it. And then, so it's Friday night. Sunday morning, we smoke them, and they're going to be awesome. And last but not least, I did say I was going to reserve a little bit of that marinade. So what the ribs are marinating in, that marinade, is what I'll use to brush the ribs when I'm grilling them. After they smoke, I'll grill them. But this little bit of reserved marinade that hasn't touched the pork, we'll use for dipping. So if you want to put a little bit on your ribs when you're eating them, we've got a little reserved sauce for dipping. It's not a lot, but a little bit goes a long way. Over and out. Alrighty, so 2 days later, and this is what the marinated ribs look like. And since not everyone's coming today, I'm only going to do a rack and a half. And then the rest of these are going to go in the freezer, and we'll have them another time. So they're going to sit in the marinade in the freezer for however long it takes, which is fine. Okay, so we're outside, and what I'm going to do first is, take a couple of pieces of hickory and put them in where the fire is. So this is lit, but it's not super hot yet, okay? Next step is to put my grate down, and then you see in front of you is a pizza stone covered in foil, okay? And then what I'm going to do is put down an upside down rack, and I've oiled it a little bit. Ready? And now we've got the ribs, okay? So I'm going to place these ribs in between like that, and whatever juice you see left over in the pan, I'm going to use that for basting later, okay? But that's it. Back that off. Now let's push it back a little bit, okay? And now we're going to close that lid and put the thermometer in, right, because this is not my good thermometer. Let that fire get hot, but I'm going to keep it around, I don't know, 225, and that's it for about 4 hours. Okay, so here's my good thermometer, and I know that it's not going to be at temperature just yet. What I'm going to do is come back in about 15 minutes, and once we get that up to about 225, I'm going to close the vents and try to retain that heat. Alrighty, so less than 20 minutes in, and you see I'm at 250. Perfect. I close my vents, and we're going to try to keep the temperature there for the next 3.5 to 4 hours. Alrighty, so in about a half an hour, it'll be 4 hours. So I just opened it a bit. I want to see if I get that temperature up above 300, but not too high. And for the last half hour, I'll do it at about 325. So I opened it a bit. I want to see if I can raise that temperature just a bit, but like I said, not too much. I don't want it going up to like 400. Yeah, 325, 350 max for the last half hour. Okay, it's been 4 hours. And look at what we've got here. 1, 2, 3. And you can see they're pretty much fall off the bone. I'm going to glaze them a little bit and just give them a quick grill. It's probably not even necessary. All right, stop that video for a second. Okay, so what we're going to do, put them on. Like I said, they already fall off the bone. Let's take some of that marinade and just get it on there. This is the marinade that they soaked in. Doesn't matter because the fire is going to kill whatever bacteria might be in there from marinating. Just going to give it a quick glaze and then turn them. Glaze. That's it. Just going to give them a quick grill. You can see the meat just falling off, huh? These are probably overdone. Put that down. You see the bone falling out of there. Yeah. Like that one. And that's it. All right, so there are the ribs. And what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to show you what the glaze looks like. This is some of the marinade that I didn't marinate the ribs with. And I'm just using a little bit as a glaze. And that's it. And look at them. They're just fall off the bone. It's fantastic. And we're going to taste this very soon. Well, I'm going to taste it sooner than that. Oh wow, that's good.